Well, wouldn't you know it, it's time for another Kirby video where I talk about Kirby. So, as it turns out, in 2019 we've had no new Kirby games developed by Hal Laboratory released within this year. Now, I know what you may be thinking, Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn was released. Yes, that is true. However, that was not developed by Hal Laboratory, that was developed by a team at Nintendo, meaning that Hal has been free to make whatever they're making. For this video thing, I'm going to sort of look at the future of Kirby and what our next game might be, and when that might be revealed and what it might be, and we'll discuss some different possibilities and how likely those possibilities might be. I thought it was high time for a nice little Kirby chat where we chat about Kirby, and that'll be good. That'll be good. So first of all, we're going to sort of look at Hal Laboratory and how they function. So from what I can tell, they have two different teams. One which works on the main series 2D games like Kirby Planet Robobot, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, Kirby Star Allies, etc. And then there's another team which pretty much works on the spin-offs like Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, Kirby Mass Attack, and Kirby Battle Royale, stuff like that. And so let's take that information and put it in the context of recent Kirby releases. And if we do that, we see that the most recent Kirby game developed by Hal was Kirby Star Allies, which was released in March of 2018. Now, development didn't actually conclude on Kirby Star Allies until a later date in 2018 because they included some pretty extensive free DLC, which presumably took a bit more time for them to develop. Now, based on the information that Star Allies development concluded sometime last year, I think it's unlikely that we'll see another 2D traditional Kirby game next up. I think next up we'll have a spin-off game, and it'll be a bit longer until we see a 2D traditional Kirby game. Another point to consider is that HAL Labs also said that after Kirby Star Allies, Kirby would be going in some sort of new direction, something along those lines. So that also points to the next game not being a traditional one. Now, I'm basing this on the fact that Kirby Battle Royale, the most recent Kirby spin-off developed by HAL, was released in 2017 in Japan and Europe, and then later 2018 in North America. And development on this title concluded pretty early in 2018 because they did add a few DLC abilities to the game, but those were pretty minor and not on the scope of something like Star Allies, which had more extensive downloadable content. I also think that the recent release of Box Boy plus Box Girl doesn't necessarily interfere with any Kirby plans, since that's a much smaller scale title than Kirby games, obviously. So looking at this information, it seems to me that the spin-off team is likely working on a title for the Switch. What could it be? I wonder. One idea that has been tossed around a lot recently is the idea of a 3D Kirby game. A game with traditional Kirby gameplay, but takes place in a three-dimensional space. So a lot of famous Nintendo franchises have taken the leap to the third dimension. We have Metroid Prime, Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and these franchises have continued to exist in 3D for decades, but Kirby is one series that really hasn't ever gone outside of 2D. We've had them sort of mess around with it in Kirby 64 and Kirby Planet Robobot, which had 3D environments but 2D gameplay. And then we had Kirby Blowout Blast, which had traditional Kirby gameplay in a 3D space, but was a very short title. And then we've also had recently Kirby Battle Royale, which does have somewhat traditional Kirby gameplay, but is confined to only battles and does not have traditional levels. So I think what a lot of people would like to see is for HAL to go all in and develop a full $60 HD Kirby 3D adventure for the Nintendo Switch. I think a lot of people have looked to Super Mario 3D World for inspiration in terms of the structure, where you have individual levels which are pretty short, but still take advantage of the 3D environments and the gameplay opportunities that it offers. So I think there's a ton of exciting possibilities with a 3D Kirby game. I'd really love to see that happen. Again, there's really no way of telling if it'll happen now, but I think the time is better than ever. HAL obviously has been experimenting with Kirby in 3D, with Battle Royale obviously, and Blowout Blast. So with those games as sort of stepping stones, it would be really cool to see them go all out on a full game. Apart from that, there are, a lot of possibilities, because when you're thinking about spin-offs, pretty much anything would work, because Kirby's such a versatile character and can pretty much be molded into whatever is required. So taking that into account, I'd love to see more Kirby sports type things. We've only really had one with Kirby's Dream Course, which is obviously a golf game. And it wasn't actually originally intended to be a Kirby game, but was adapted to be that. But I think it would be very fun to see Hal tackle some other sports. We could do soccer, baseball, volleyball, tennis, pretty much anything would work because Kirby is a ball. Then another possibility is that we recently saw with Kirby and the Rainbow Curse a follow-up or spiritual successor to a previously existing spin-off. I think it would be really cool to see some more of those, like perhaps a sequel to some of the more classic Kirby spin-offs, like Kirby's Pinball Land, or Kirby Block Ball, Kirby Star Stacker, Kirby's Dream Course. There's a lot of different possibilities that they could go with, and since it's been about 20 years since these games were released, it would be pretty fun to see a modern take on them, since video games as a whole have evolved so much since then. Although I do think that the touchscreen-based spin-offs, like Kirby Canvas Curse and Kirby Mass Attack, are far less likely than the others to be adapted, since Nintendo really does not seem to like using the touchscreen on the Switch. Like, barely any games use it, and those that do don't have it as an integral part of the experience. So I think it's pretty unlikely that we'd see a touchscreen-based game on the Switch. And then I got a few other little spin-off ideas that are just sort of separate from that, because obviously those are all just taking previously existing concepts and just sort of spinning them in a new direction. But what we could also do is take Kirby into an entirely new genre that we haven't really seen before. I think an obvious one would be a Kirby RPG. That's probably the biggest genre that Kirby really hasn't tapped into much at all. Presumably because I guess it's just a more complex form of video games than what we generally get from Kirby. It'd be really fun to see how Hal tackles the challenge of making a really entry-level, approachable RPG. And I'd really like to see what they come up with. And this is sort of random, but Hal recently tweeted out this, I guess, new line of merchandise called Kirby's Dream Gear. And it's basically the Kirby cast all clad in this epic steampunk gear. And it looks really awesome. And for some reason, when I saw that, I thought, oh, that would make a really cool art style for a Kirby RPG. And I don't know why I thought that. Maybe I was connecting it to like Codename Steam or something. I think that would be really cool, and it would be a really good way of differentiating the RPG from the rest of the Kirby series, is to have a very unique and fun art style. So who knows how likely that is, but it's a fun little concept. Actually, should have mentioned this earlier, but I forgot to. And that is, I don't know how I forgot this, but that's Kirby Air Ride 2. Wow, we need that, yeah. So I talked about this a bit more extensively in my Nintendo sequels video from a while back, so I'll just sort of touch on the big talking points. You know, it's been a long time since the original Kirby Air Ride. It's held in a really high regard by a lot of fans, and I just love to see it return and get to play City Trial some more, because I love City Trial, so it'd be really cool if they brought that back. I've wanted this game for a long time, and who knows if the time is right now for it to be made, but let's hope that it is. And the last stupid little concept I come up with is a Kirby cooking game, because why not? Kirby's all about food, so that's another little possibility. And with that, I think I've exhausted all my ideas for a new Kirby game, which is probably a spin-off. Just briefly, let's also talk about when we might see this potential Kirby game. So what I'm thinking is we'll probably have it revealed in a Nintendo Direct sometime soon, possibly in September or December or January or February. Some kind of Nintendo Direct coming up soon. I'm pretty sure we'll see a new Kirby game, just because the time seems right. And I will say that I think we'll probably see it announced before E3 2020 and then released at some point during the year of 2020, whether that be in the spring, the fall, or the winter. But I'm pretty dang confident that we'll be getting a Kirby game in 2020. Now we just gotta wait and see what it is. Hope you had a fun little time thinking about all these different Kirby games with me. It's been pretty fun to speculate. So yeah, we're done now.